this is a very important, in my opinion, very important platform to educate people on the do's, the don'ts. Is cannabis, safe to use? Is THC bad for my dog? Is CBD something that I could buy at the store? What is CBD? How? So many questions. This podcast is going to basically allow us to provide a lot of information that people really don't have one way or the other to confirm whether or not it's real or not real. Welcome, everyone, to our podcast, The Healing Project. I'm Jesus Ramirez, also known as Jesse.
And I'm Isabel Ramirez.
Welcome, everyone. Wow.
Thank you.
Amazing.
It is, isn't it?
The podcast is here. I'm so excited. So we have a lot to cover. Let's just dive right into it. Mm-hmm. So in the last 10 years, what we've been doing, the reason why we're actually doing this podcast is we've been helping people, dogs, cats, all sorts of vertebrae,
reptiles,
with cannabis, all sorts of vertebrae with cannabis. And so all this information that we've learned and the things that we've figured out over the last couple of years and 10 years, right. We're going to share it with you guys. Mm-hmm. And so this is really what we're doing here with this podcast. And we're going to get into our story in a little bit. But before we do that, we just want to talk a little bit about how we kind of got started with all this. And, we were basically forced into it.
Forced into it because of, what we were going through in our lives.
Yeah. But, this was back in 2010 when there was not a lot of information mm-hmm. regarding cannabis. People used to think cannabis is something that you use to help someone palliatively, to give them some extra support with appetite, nausea, and inflammation, maybe. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Back then, it wasn't really thought of as
medicine like it is
as
now,
medicine, right? And so now we're in 2021. Things are different. Mm-hmm. We know better. You and I have both gone through different courses and classes, and
we just got certified in our master's certificate. Mm-hmm.
And so, we have a lot of knowledge now in the subject. And so we're going to share that with our viewers and the people that are going to tune into our podcast. And we're going to have lots of episodes that are going to cover tons and tons of different subjects. Information, basically. So first, let's get right back into it. Let's start. And by the way, before we get into it really deep, this is our first podcast.
Yeah, give us a little bit of.
Excuse me. Sorry, guys. That's why I'm apologizing, because we're new at this, mm-hmm. and we're just, we're trying our best to get this all figured out. But obviously, we're gonna, it's gonna be fun. So let's get started. Like I said, back in 2010, the reason why we got started in the first place was, my brother was diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer.
Stage 4. And from the time we found out, which was somewhere around when
May?
was it?
I think it was May 2010.
May 2010 to the time that he passed away. It was like a blink of an eye. It happened so fast. I remember I used to, during that time we had our store, I used to pick him up and take him to the store with.
During that time, we were pregnant. I was about 6 months pregnant, and he got diagnosed in May. And I remember you just, our business was closing. The economy was suffering. We were pregnant. We had to move homes.
That was a lot of stuff.
We were going through so many things, different changes were happening during that time. And it was just, that diagnosis really took us over the edge of what we were going to do. We panicked.
I remember going to the house, at my mom's house, and finding out that the nurse had told us that he was days away from passing away. I was really upset about that. I remember thinking, man, it's impossible. It couldn't be happening this quickly. And I remember getting to the house and just the rest was kind of a big blur. But it was tough that day. I remember you were kind of arguing with the nurse because you were in denial of what was taking place. We went over there. I was pregnant. We both sat in the room. It was just you. It was him, and it was I, and it was the baby kicking in the stomach. We were sitting there. I was praying the rosary, and you two were arm in arm. And I remember you were telling your brother that it was okay. I remember sitting there and watching you and him. You're crying, and I felt helpless.
It was.
I really
tough.
did. Those times that we were going through that. it was just me and you. And it felt like we were alone on an island. Nobody was there to help. Nobody. And I remember thinking to myself, let's ask the doctors. Let's find out what's going to happen here.
They didn't give you any answers.
I didn't get any answers. Nothing. Nobody gave us answers.
They weren't supportive in that at all. They wanted to put him through chemo. They wanted to give him all kinds of things that we didn't know anything about.
We didn't choose to do this in the first place. We never thought that this was something that we would end up doing, having to do research for my brother who had cancer and trying to figure out if this was even a viable option for him, something that really worked, right? Because the information wasn't there. And we just thought, well, it's only for appetite. So what is the real end game here? Are we really going to help my brother go to a place where he can basically go into remission or, I'm not going to say cure, but get to that point where he's okay? I didn't know any better.
We didn't get to that far though.
He passed away. And that's why we did this. This is why we're doing this, because I felt hopeless during that time. Nobody was around. And now we have an opportunity to help people with our information that we've learned over the time. It's not rocket science. We basically developed these protocols just through experience. The things that we've learned about because of how we felt that the medical system had failed us. We went to all of the conventional routes, right? We did the chemo, we did all that. We're looking into all those options, but inevitably my brother passed and we were left with, just scratching our heads like, what happened? What happened?
I know it freaked me out. I was afraid. I didn't know how cancer worked in the body. I was afraid being first-time parents, and I was afraid of losing you. I was terrified. The research that we did day and night, trying to figure this stuff out, kept us up.
This is how we got into it. The reason why we're doing this is because of that. And, it's hard for me to talk about it sometimes, but it has to be talked about because we know from the people that we've spoken to that a lot of the people that we talk to, they're experiencing the same things. They're going through the exact same things that we're going through, that we were going through at that time.
The sleepless nights, the over researching, the where do I turn to? Who can help me? I mean, all these questions, we had them. We were going through them. And
I remember being so frustrated. I was pissed. I was thinking to myself, like,
hear anything.
What happened? People think if I go to the doctor and if I have the right prescription, if I get the right procedure, if I get the right medication, whatever, then I'll be better. And a lot of the times, well, at least for us, we were let down. Right. We didn't get that opportunity to say, oh, I'm so glad we went down this route because it worked out, and that's really the reason why we do it. We get up every day in the morning. I look at my phone sometimes and it's filled with texts from people that are trying to get a hold of us, emails, our appointments. And like I said, we didn't choose to do this. I was working a full-time job 5 years ago as an engineer. I was good. We were on our way to, almost, I wanted to retire at that, doing that for the rest of my life. And it wasn't.
But his passing really sparked something inside of us that really we didn't want anybody else to go through what we went through. And being able to research and find out all this information, being able to help people is. I
remember seeing you get on Facebook and just go through tons and tons of groups, and there was nothing. There weren't any groups out there that people had that were dedicated to, hey, how do I help my loved one with this terrible, whatever, autoimmune disorder, whatever you want to call it, cancer, maybe it's not even that intense. Maybe it's something minor, like I can't sleep or anxiety. There wasn't really anything that was natural. It was always a prescription drug that you wanted to do. I knew better. Both of us, have in our background people that have used medicine naturally, holistically.
Yeah.
And that is really the reason why we got into energy healing too. We're both energy healers, and we use those modalities to help us figure things out when it comes to, thinking outside the box.
Well, that's how we developed a lot of our protocols, by talking, by feeling, by, utilizing the medicine and understanding how it works in the body and implementing.
This is why we're doing the podcast. Let's get to that already, because This podcast is going to basically allow us to provide a lot of information that people really don't have one way or the other to confirm whether or not it's real or not real. Is it substantial?
It's
Is
a
it
time saver too.
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
I
you
don't know
have
how
time.
much research we did and how much time we spent and lost because the information wasn't readily available. I mean, I think that's really why we really want to do this
To
put this
streamline
down,
it.
to make it easier for people to have a resource to gather all the information that they need.
And so now that we have this, platform where we're going to be able to help people, I'm really excited about it because what we're going to do with it is basically showcase a lot of the different autoimmune disorders and the way that the experience that we have with helping dogs. And let's go back to that just a little bit. 10 years is a pretty decent amount of time to do something. I've heard from people say, hey, Jesse, how do you know how to do all this stuff, right? Is this something that you learned at school? There is no real school where you learn how to work with cannabis as a medicine. It's basically the way we learned it was trying it on ourselves.
Trial and error.
And so you and I both came up with these protocols based on what we knew before, which was microdosing, right? You take a little bit of medicine and you see how you feel. And if it doesn't get you to where you need to be, then you increase it and you go up a little more, and it's microdosing in a titration schedule going up. So now you get to a point where 2-3 days later, you get to an amount that helps you feel better. And now you're good. You're good. It's that simple. Like I said, it's not rocket science, but whenever you think about cannabis, there's so many variables, right? There's the variable of cannabis, which a lot of people aren't comfortable talking about really yet, let alone using it for themselves, their loved ones as a medicine. On top of that, you have medical professionals that are giving you advice based on Western medicines. So now those doctors that are giving those advices, they don't really want to talk much about cannabis. And for that reason, this is a very important, in my opinion, very important platform to educate people on the do's, the don'ts. Is cannabis, safe to use? Is THC bad for my dog? Is CBD something that I could buy at the store? What is CBD? So many questions every day. You and I, we sit through, you sit right next to me while I'm on my calls, and we go through about 8 hours of calls a day. And then on top of that, we're fielding texts and we're answering emails and we're talking to people all day long. We can go from 6 a.m. until 8 at night and not even eat dinner. There's some crazy days. But the reason we do it, honestly, is because we went through what a lot of the people that we know that we're going to reach are going to go through, which is I'm desperate. I'm looking for answers.
Need help.
And I need help, man. I need help.
Please.
Somebody give me some freaking advice. Somebody give me a little bit to go off of. And then from there, we build on it. The main reason why we're doing the podcast is because a lot of what we do is it's not anecdotal anymore. We're actually doing, in my opinion, I'm an engineer, and I feel that the only way to know what we're doing with this is to really get down to the science of it. And so by calculations, by figuring out milligrams, and by giving people dosage amounts that they can really use, like tangible amounts, not this, hey, give a little bit and increase it over time and see what happens. That's ludicrous. If you go to a doctor and the doctor tells you, hey, take 2 of these pills and in about 2-3 days, take 3 or 4, see how you feel. That's never going to happen. Yeah. That's not even a real thing. So people eventually get, I guess, a little disappointed by the fact that they don't have the answers that they're looking for. So like I said, the information, we're going to have lots of podcasts where we're going to go over all of this information. And there's really so much information that we're going to do this on a regular basis. It's a series. It's going to, this is our first episode, but we're actually really excited. I'm jumping a little bit into the future, but our next podcast is going to be with a biochemist, scientist. His name is Craig Workman, and he actually is part owner of Hemptium, and he's going to be talking about a brand new CBD product that they've developed. It's nanotechnology. It's the most amazing product. And it's basically what we're doing with that. We've been using it with our clients for the last couple of years. And that product has basically helped us elevate what we're doing with the cannabis oils and the other products that we've been using for some time. And so we're going to have them on the next podcast. And so going back to, the podcast and trying to figure out things with the medicine, we're basically going to give people, the viewers, the ability to go back into our podcast and kind of grab information from those episodes based on the topic. So we will have a topic in the future with dog cancer lymphoma. We will have one with anxiety. People, lots of people
on here that have had issues and used medicine to help overcome those things, and we'll be able to talk to them.
Eventually, we'll get our own clients that we've been helping with the medicine. Mm-hmm. They'll come on, talk about their experience with the medicine. And, there's a lot of success stories on our website. If you guys go on our website, healing-project.info, there's up at the top, there's a tab for testimonials for humans and doggies. We're still working on getting those up to speed, but there's quite a bit of them in there. Lots of the people that we're helping, they're experiencing results. People ask us on a regular basis, what can we expect for this to do for us? Will this work for us? Right. Cannabis in general, it doesn't care who you are.
And I don't think it really cares what you have either.
No, that's the beauty of it.
How much you're using, how long, the duration, what you have going on in your body that I like to call factors.
And so the system that we have doesn't care. And that's why we believe in the medicine so much, because it's not something that we can recommend and then kind of look back at it and say, oh, I hope it works. Well, if we do it right by helping people dose and by helping them figure out the medicine, giving them tons of support. When we talk to people on a regular basis, we get on the phone and we talk to them. We could sit there and talk for about an hour sometimes
an hour and a half.
and that to me is really the most important part of the very first conversation that we have with the client that we're helping, because they're typically coming to us with questions that they're either afraid to ask or they haven't had the answer for.
Like us all over again. It would be like us trying to figure this out and going to somebody that has all the answers, that's already been there, done that, and gone through that process. And we have, just like everybody else, we are just like you. We had a tragedy happen in our lives and it made us do something about it. And here we are now trying to share this information with you so that you don't have to go and waste time. And, you can get information that you need that's proven to work.
And so just to kind of, I guess, reiterate the big picture with the podcast, we are going to have a regular series. This will be the first one of very many that we're going to have. But down the road, what we plan on doing with the podcast as well is we want to be more interactive with the viewers. We want to have something where we can have people maybe, right now this podcast here is going to be recorded and then later launched and shown to our members. But hopefully down the road, we can have something that's maybe live and we can have people call in, ask us questions. We can go over different types of diagnosis that they might have. And we also hope to have different people on the podcast that might be experts in the field, right? We're going to have maybe
at least gone through it.
Right.
Has reached a remission, has gone through protocols, who's gone through the whole process, who has more insight than us on that end.
We don't know it all. And I'm not going to say that I know everything, but I do know it's been amazing. Before I forget, this is the one of the bigger, I guess, stories that we've had. Some of the members that have tuned into our Facebook groups, Orange County Consultants and the Healing Project. There's a person that we helped. His name is Tino Sanchez. He had a dog named Shorty, and Shorty had lymphoma back in, it's been almost 6-7 years ago. Wow, so it must have been in 2015, somewhere around that time. And his dog Shorty went on to go into remission with our help. That was actually our first dog. Yeah, no chemo,
Prednisone?
I think they did a little bit of prednisone. He did a little bit of prednisone, but the majority of what we did was just the tinctures with the FECO, and it was all of our cannabis oils. And he was.
Did Shorty get to some of the CBD powder?
Yeah, she got to try it in the last year that we, well, 2 years ago when we started. She was just starting to try it, but just about 3-4 months ago, she passed away, but it was due to old age. She was almost 17. She was gonna be 17 years old. But she did amazing for 6+ years. She was in remission. Amazing. So, there's a lot of stories that are going to be similar to that. We have brain tumors, digestive issues, masses of all types, sarcomas, mast cell tumors, and the list goes on and on. The majority of what we do with the people that we help, it's advice. We're giving people advice that, like I said, that we wish we would have had.
Absolutely. When
we first found out that my brother had cancer. And that's really it, people. It's not something that, because a lot of the people that we talk to, it's kind of a trust walk that we go through in the very beginning, because it is cannabis. It has been restricted in a lot of states, and people for that reason are a little bit worried about, hey, if I talk about this, am I going to get in trouble? Well, we're just talking, we're going over information that you at some point can benefit from if you decide you want to, use our guidance. And we have been able to help people in states that aren't legal. They manage to figure out the medicine part somehow, and then they use our guidance to help their dogs get better. And that's really the bottom line. The products, the people, and all that. Even me, I tell people all the time, I'm no one special. The only thing that we bring to the table is our knowledge. And that was just because we were forced into having to learn this. I don't think that people need to do that. I don't think people need to go and spend time. Yeah, they don't need to spend all day. The other day we were speaking to somebody. She said she was up for 4 days straight.
I know how that goes.
4 days straight doing research. And when I finally got off the phone with her, she texted me, I'm about to sleep for about a day straight. And I was like, poor thing. I remember that. I was beat up bad. I mean, I'm still trying to get past that. It'll never be perfect. But back when that happened, I felt what I think a lot of people might be feeling when they talk to us, right? Yeah. They call us and they're like, hey, man, I don't know if you're the guy, but people keep telling me to call you. And how can you help us? And that's really it. I tell people, we tell people, the information we're about to give you is something that you could figure out yourself if you had years and years to figure it out. That's the thing, you don't. Right. Unfortunately, there is no cure for cancer, and people, regardless, they're looking for an answer, right? They're trying to find something that they can help their loved one. Earlier to this morning, we got off the phone with somebody and they were telling me that their doggies, that's all they have. That's all they have. Their kids are all grown. They've left the nest, and they don't have anybody else other than their little sidekick, right? Their buddy.
And that's why we get up every morning and do this, because this is something that I know it's important to do for people like you guys that need the help.
We talk every morning for hours at a time, wake up, get the girls ready to go to school. We get ourselves ready, and let's get going. We'll talk about
who can we help today?
Who's the next person that is asking us. And we help people all over the world. We get calls from, all parts of the world. And it's crazy to hear that it's the same everywhere. We're human, right?
The information isn't there.
You just don't have, if you have the ability to share your knowledge, which we do, which we are going to work really hard to build all this to make it come true. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's an amazing time. We're in a really amazing time right now where we can talk about it. We can really,
we can. What it was like 10 years ago when you couldn't even talk to anybody about it.
I remember going to the dispensary where we picked up the medicine for Claudio, and the lady behind the counter was like, what do you want? And I'm like, dude, I thought this was medicine. I thought we could talk about this. I thought it was, no. And then she only had like a couple of them.
Yeah.
And we found we needed like 90.
90 was 1 gram for $100.
And it was $100. And we were like, whoa, that's crazy. She didn't have the medicine. We couldn't get the medicine to my brother. And he passed away.
Passed away in your arms.
Why does that have to happen? Why does that have to happen? In this day and age, we have the ability to help people, man. Come on. It doesn't have to happen
like that anymore.
So
the information's there. That's
what we're going to do.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do. Plain and simple. And so I'm excited.
So am I.
The amount of information that we're going to hopefully reach the audience with is going to be incredible. We have a beautiful soul in our studio. It's our engineer. His name is actually Sol. And he's amazing. He's been helping us put all of this together. Thank you so much, Sol. I appreciate all of your help. I did want to cover a couple of things. I do want to kind of give my wife, who's sitting right in front of me, lots and lots of praise because, it's not easy. I know it's not easy. We're not people that are in the spotlight. I don't like the spotlight. Neither do you. And it was hard for us to put this together to be able to reach such a big audience. But now that it's here, I'm glad we did. It's exciting.
It's exciting. There's a lot of things that we need to do. And I'm definitely excited to share the information with you.
It's going to be amazing.
It's going to be amazing. That's for sure.
And so with that in mind, I just want to thank everybody for being for joining us on the show. We will have a second episode with our friend, the biochemist and scientist
from Hempium,
Craig Workman from Hempium. He will be talking about his beautiful nano CBD powder. But until then, everybody, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. And we will have, hopefully in the near future, this amazing show for you that people will just learn so much from. So thank you once again, everybody. Goodbye.